You're an artist on record, your ultimate intimate conversation with your favorite artist. If it is your first time here, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. If you want to see this episode unedited, uncut, check it out. All access Backstage Pass in Patreon. But today in the hot seat, the legendary Jerry Shirley of Humble Pie. Two people who plays in Kiss, Eric Singer. He was so happy that you were coming on there. He's like, oh, I wish I could ask him some questions. So he's giving you a shout out. I don't know if you know Eric.
I don't personally know. He's the drummer now, right?
He's the drummer with Kiss, yes, right now. Yeah. And then Mark Foreigner sends you a big hug and love.
Bless him. Yeah. We were like brothers brothers in arms on the road. The two bands together went all over America and Europe. And we played Shea Staduim together. They were the headliners, of course, and Hyde Park in London. The huge crowds. And interestingly, I found out just the other day, I had no idea that, of course, the Beatles were the first British band, or therefore a British drummer, or the first British band to play Shea Staduim. Well, actually, the band that opened up for them on that whole tour were an English band called Sounds Incorporated. And the drummer for that band were a very well-known English drummer called Tony Newman, who went on to play with Jeff Beck and Mark Bolan, all kinds of people. Brilliant drummer, dear friend of mine. Helped me get sober. He's a lovely man. And we figured it out that actually there's 3 English drummers that played the old Shea Staduim between 1965 and 1971. Tony was the first, Ringo was the second, and I was the third. And I just had no clue. You don't find this out till you're 70. At the time, I was just the opening act or the special guest, actually, on the Grand Funk sold-out show, and we rocked the house big time. And Grand Funk was so gracious, that before we played with them, we were told that no opening act or no special guest had ever survived because their support at the time was so fierce. They had this, they didn't get airplay hardly, but they became so big and so popular that any opening act would just get booed off. So if we were the first band to open up or be on their shows and go down as well as they did, or almost as well, and eventually as well as they did. And they didn't care. They gave us every advantage we could possibly have. They didn't try and cut our encores or, do anything that some headliners would do if the opening band were doing as well as they didn't care. They let us go out and do our best, and then they would go out and kick ass, fantastically. They were a much, much better band than they were given credit to be. They sounded much better on stage than they did out front, because as much as he may have done for them, their original manager, who insisted on, doing everything, was messing with the sound out front, and he should have left it to a sound technician, an out front sound guy, and they would have not, their reputation would have been better because they sounded so good on stage. I mean, they're great players.
Yes.
Don Bird, what a drummer. Wow. And we were just like this bunch of buddies on the road, the whole time. Never, ever. They did lots of little things like give us a bonus when we did Shea Staduim, and we'd done this whole tour with them that ended at Shea. And, we'd give them a good run for their money on many occasions. They didn't care. They loved it. And they gave us a fantastic bonus. and a gold medallion thing with a Shea Staduim Grand Funk Humble Pie on it and the date, which sadly I don't have anymore. I don't know what happened to it. It's a great shame, but can't speak highly enough of them. So you let Mark know I said thank you and all my love.
But he was telling me when they took the helicopter and they could watch Humble Pie play, you could see the wave of the crowd. He goes, it was incredible. And they could just hear you guys. And he goes, when the helicopter landed, their car wasn't there to take them. So it was like, it was a little chaotic, but he says, he was saying how great you guys were and to be on the road with. How long was that tour with Grand Funk?
It was, let me see, well, it started the year before. We did some dates through November and December of 70. And then we picked up again with them the late spring into the summer of 71. And that went all over Europe, through Hyde Park, and ended at Shea Staduim. Because we were doing other dates as well. I remember on that tour, we did the Hollywood Bowl with ELP and things like that. But that was the mainstay. The bit that involved Shea was basically the end of their European tour, which we were on all of. And some amazing things happened on that. We did a football stadium in Milan, the old football stadium there. And it was in the days when everybody was demanding free concerts, everything's got to be free. And so the ticket people that had bought the tickets were in the stadium already. We were on stage playing, and all the people that wanted in for free were outside. Now, for some stupid reason, the police or the promoters eventually opened the gates, and just let them in, which created chaos. And the way that the Italian police at the time dealt with it, God knows why, was shooting tear gas canisters over into the stadium. And they hit behind the stage and rolled down the steps where the seats were, and ended up blowing right across the stage. So we're playing while we're getting tear gassed, and this was, and we had to stop and get taken off stage by our management and led with one man's hand on the other guy's shoulder, and our manager at the front and his brother at the back, directing us because we couldn't see. And lots of several stories that happened while we were together on the road, but they were just great people.
Man, let me tell you, you're Humble Pie. Well, the legacy continues. You got 50 years of smoke, and you guys you're continuing the legacy. You're out there playing. You have a whole new lineup, paying tribute to what? The legacy of Humble Pie. Is Steve Marriott in the Hall of Fame, but Humble Pie is not? Correct me on this.
That is true. He is in there as part of the Small Faces, which is absolutely right. I personally think, and this is my own personal opinion, because the Faces were nominated to go in there, and were inducted, but they, as part of their induction, said, well, if they're inducted, so should the Small Faces be. So Steve, in a way, yes, he was inducted, and that's absolutely right. But I find that almost insulting that he has to be, brought in through the back door as an add-on to the Faces. Because if it wasn't for him and the Small Faces, there wouldn't have been any Faces. There wouldn't have been any Humble Pie either if he'd have stayed with. And we as a band have now been eligible ×2, because it's 25 years, I think, from your first release that gives you eligibility. But we're beyond that by 3 years. And there's so many bands in there that don't deserve to be in there. And there's so many that are like us aren't in there that do. I mean, imagine Little Feet aren't in there.
That's crazy.
Oh, I don't think Bad Company are. And there's a number of truly great bands. I don't even know if Free are in there, to be honest. And Steve, I think, deserves to be in there, not just because I was the drummer. That's got nothing to do with it. As what he gave to America as part of Humble Pie. Because he wasn't known for the small faces in America. He had one hit. No, Litchfield Park, and that was written by Ronnie Lane. You know, it just was almost insulting that he wasn't given the credit. It's just I'm not saying it's an insult. The way he was put in there, he should be in there on his own right, just himself. Never mind what bands he was in. Just as the best lead singer, frontman that ever lived, in my opinion. You know, he taught so many of the people that are in there now, learned their trade by growing up listening to and admiring him. You know, even Springsteen stood at the side of the stage when he was opening up for us in Asbury Park, watching every move Steve made. Now, if you think about it, I'm not accusing the great Bruce Springsteen of anything but what we all did. Take from what we saw around us. And every time we played there, more than once, he opened up for us when he was under the name of Dr. Zoom, I think. And I clearly remember him standing at the side of the stage watching every move that Steve made, you know.
Yeah.
And many, many other, so many great frontmen got what they got from him.
That was the wonderful Jerry Shirley. Make sure you check out Humble Pie Legacy, 50 Years of Smoking. Links will be down below. In the meantime, if you want to see this episode unedited, uncut, join our all-access VIP Backstage Pass in Patreon. Until then, everybody, another great box is going to pop up somewhere here. Make sure you click on it and check out our playlist. It's only rock and roll, and we like it. And remember, who loves you, baby? We do. Now get out of here, you crazy kids.